I took some time earlier today and I wrote down something that I want to talk about that I feel is very important right now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in my standing chair, stand up, hook up this microphone, and just read. If you'd like to join me, stay tuned, watch the process, and yeah, we'll get started. As is the theme of this writing that I'm sharing today about overcoming challenges, it seems to be fitting to take on one. I guess I'll put the book back here and then I'll just grab it. So I get out of my chair. This is all very awkward for me to be doing this on camera and sharing it. Okay, I put this seatbelt on. I can't lose focus because if I forget to do one thing and then try to go up to a standing position, I could fall. I could be ejected out of this thing, which has happened before. Okay, so I put this over my knees to keep them locked. I feel like I'm nervous, so this isn't going like as well as planned. I'm really going outside of my comfort zone today because usually when I make a video, I try to, look presentable, feel really comfortable, not really show my wheelchair, and I'm doing all of the opposite things. I'm not super comfortable. I'm showing two wheelchairs. I haven't done my hair or makeup. Okay, so we'll just see how this goes. Okay, that's silly. Okay, so start over. Standing makes me feel lightheaded, so I just need to take a moment and calm everything down. This is okay. All right, it's because it's like 90 degrees. I don't know how I'm going to hold this and keep myself balanced with one hand. And then, okay, like this. Here I am, 6 feet up in the air. Thank you for being here with me. This is harder than it looks. Don't take standing for granted. It takes a lot of energy to move the blood back up from your legs after it goes down after you stand. It's very important to tell your body that it's still all very necessary and loved. I believe that we are all in a path of transformation, of overcoming specific things which have been presented to us as challenges, whether they be under the surface or obvious. It's up to each individual to decide whether they're up for the task of overcoming these things. And it could be done with intention and dedication, or it can be driven by something deeper inside, some sort of invisible guidance that is constantly keeping you naturally striving to reach higher up than before, or maybe a combination of both. For a long time, even though I was seeking for higher truths, it felt as if I had a force that no matter how hard I tried to stay on the right path, it would bring me back down. It feels incredible how much I was pushed back into the mud and had to go through yet another process of feeling pure and worthy enough to reach up again. Some years ago, I was pushed far enough into a feeling of despair that I decided to embark on a process of completely surrendering. I realized the way of my ego and all its beliefs from a distorted illusion of a tortured life. I realized it had to be stopped. And who is this I that realized this? If I was to work on getting out of my own way, who was left to operate the vehicle? I decided to listen to the teachings of Advaita Vedanta, non-duality, which offered a great source of support while I was transitioning away from being controlled by a diseased mind, which was controlled by a diseased society, diseased standards of how it is we're supposed to live. I feel like I was set up somehow to be able to retreat so much away from all of this. Having an extreme accident resulting in an extreme injury, moving away from a city to the rural landscape, choosing to live by myself. Each step further separating me from an equation I believe to distract me from a truth. In this more isolated situation, disabled, living alone, away from the noise, I was able to begin breaking down completely and building myself back up. More seriously taking on this transformation process I believe to be my greatest mission while I'm alive. I opened the floodgates and began, as much as my body was comfortable with, feeling everything I had been trying to escape from for my entire life. I would let myself wail and cry and process through creativity all of the stuck energy that I had been tripping over for so long. I started immersing myself in repetitive teachings of Buddhism and non-duality, the notions of grasping, bringing suffering, letting go, forgiveness, compassion, humility, surrendering into an unknown state, and trusting that I will be able to take care of myself. As my heart began to truly open, as I gave myself the space to clear out all of the garbage, training myself patiently to steer toward healthier ways of thinking, of eating, of communicating, of soothing myself through this marathon of endurance as I switched my focus away from what other people were doing, away from trying to make as much money as I could, away from attempting to maintain some image, as I decided to use my energy for this process of transcending, of rewiring my entire system to allow itself to comfortably stay in a place of surrender and trust. Everything in me seems to, as if like the face of a flower, turn upward toward the sun. And a trust is growing stronger that every day the sun will rise again, allowing me to deepen further my roots into this knowing so that I can more confidently and comfortably reach higher up. Through the surrendering and dedicated nurturing process, my life changed. I spend a majority of my time alone and focused. I feel incredibly blessed to have a dear friend show up to talk with me about these processes. It does indeed help to feel such a sense of companionship, to be able to talk with someone who understands. This process is such a treasure. And they've shared some incredible sources of wisdom with me that resonate so deeply. I feel that I've entered more sure-footedly into a realm of existence that I have been secretly striving for my whole life. and I feel so grateful. I'm realizing more and more about the subtleties of this process. And I'm finding it all to be spelled out so clearly in these Gnostic texts, which I'm only now turning my attention toward, and so grateful to my friend for sharing some of this wisdom with me. I had always had an aversion toward organized religion because it just didn't feel as loving and as heart-based as I had hoped something set up for the spiritual refuge for people to be. But these texts pointing toward things like being called to a greater knowing and the importance of being a loving example for others as we live in this world of things trying to keep us down and blind. I feel so in line with these things, and I crave to have more of this guidance. I've always had a deep inner sense that there's a better way to live, a more beautiful way to experience life, wiser ways to spend my precious energy given to me every day. And to see it all so eloquently shared through these texts is blowing my mind. It feels so much better to have a reference to help guide me through this ever-deepening process. I'm in this to honor the process of transformation. Sometimes I stumble across someone speaking of what they think is really happening here, what humans are, why we're here, etc. And because of my curious scientific part of myself, sometimes I entertain looking into these theories. But I've recently discovered that it is futile to spend my energy on trying to figure out exactly how all this happened. And in fact, it takes me further away from the beauty of the surrender that I've worked so hard to achieve. I want you as well to be careful with what you entertain. Like my dear friend said, you can look at all the trains, but keep your chair off the tracks. And getting back to my original point, we each have an individual process of coming into a sacred knowing, of how better to be a part of this world. There are many threads to pull from to weave your most comfortable clothes. Listen to your heart. Begin to build a trusting relationship with it. If you are seeking and being presented with information and it feels scary, it's probably best to use that as a reference to look the other way. For me, I'm choosing to embrace innocence, a knowing and not knowing, emanating from a calm and centered, loving space, that everything is going to be okay, that we're doing our best by showing up every day, by being gentle and patient with others and ourselves, by having a low impact and humbly accepting this challenge we're given to overcome and surrender into it all. I wish us all the best. Stay discerning with what you take in or entertain. Give yourself a chance. There's a beautiful spirit that can help guide you if you let it. Be brave and use your heart. And thank you for being here. And take care.